Hi there, I'm Ryan, a technician at 4x4 here in Leeming Bar. Today I'm going to show you how to fit a light pod on our 2023 Amarok style. The same instructions are going to apply to the style, the Adventura and the Panamerica. The Leaf, however, does not come with matrix style headlights, which are these particular headlights here, so the wiring would be different. But like I say, the style, Adventura and the Panamerica are all the same. Also, I just wanted to say that the wiring that we're doing today on this one does also apply to the Ford Ranger Platinum, and just the Ford Ranger Platinum, no other Ranger. And these are the things that you're going to need. So we've got our impact driver, a 8mm, 7mm and a 10mm, a knife, trim tool, deburrer, blowtorch, could also use a heat gun, wire strippers, soldering iron, tape measure, plastic trim tool, pick, cable puller, and then I have 2-inch and 1-inch masking tape. I've got some glass cleaner here, there's a brake cleaner and some microfiber cloths. Drill bits, drill, a torch, electrical tape, solder, a Phillips screwdriver. I've got 2 bits of heat shrink here, wire cutters, tie wraps, and finally gloves. So I have our Predator light pod here, and this is how you're going to receive it in the same box. Do want to say, if you notice any damage to the box or damage to the actual light pod, you must notify the delivery driver and then sign for it as damaged. As you can see, ours is in very good condition, so we're going to open that and pull the parts out. So these are all the bits that you're going to receive to transform the look of your vehicle. So we have a Lazer double 320 loom, our Sikaflex nozzle and 2 rubber grommets, our Lazer CAN interface and our Lazer contactless reader. Then we have our 2 Y pieces and our Sikaflex, as well as our light pod, all protected. Before you do cut this open, just make sure that the light pod is actually in the upside down position. You'll know this by there's a big gap underneath it, and then obviously if you look at the top you can see the humps and whatnot. We're saying open it upside down because if we're going to take a knife to it, we don't want to damage the paint. So always open it upside down. So the first thing we're going to do to the pod is install these Y pieces and Sikaflex them down. This is so this has plenty of time to start to dry whilst we do the wiring on the vehicle. So it's always the first thing that we want to do is bond these Y pieces in. So we have our 2 Y pieces. This one is for this side and this one is for this side. Generally, I try and always put the end of where it's going to clip into the loom about the start of this V that runs through the pod. So I'm just going to clip them in. Make sure you hear the click when it's going in, and then force that underneath that ridge, and then the other one there, and then same on this side. Now I'll open our Sikaflex. I'm going to use a gun. I'm going to use an electrical one. You could use a manual one if that is what you have. I'm just going to use a little bit of tape as well just to hold this in place. So I'm just going to Sikaflex the connectors down where the 2 join. This is going to stop them from hitting the roof while we're driving, because that'd be extremely annoying. So I'm just going to Sikaflex both the connectors down in this side and this side. So now we've bonded them in, we can put this somewhere safe, and we're going to move on to the wiring now over in the car. The first thing that we're going to do is the CANbus interface kit. We'll fit that first, and then we're going to do the loom thereafter. So we're going to remove this lower trim panel now. So the first thing we're going to do is lift the weather strip up, like so, and then from the back side lift the panel, and then under here there's a little trim clip that we've got to remove. Just pop that out, pop that in the pocket, don't lose it. And then this panel comes forward, bonnet on pop, and then unplug that, and then we'll just put this somewhere safe. On the contactless reader there is 2 Phillips head screws that we're going to have to remove. Then this is the panel that we're going to use. But before we stick that on, we need to get the right CANbus wires. So our CAN low is the purple and orange wire, and our CAN high is the grey and orange. So if you look on the back of this panel, that we have here, if I turn that over, you can see it says CAN low here, and it says CAN high across there. So you can see here that I've put the grey and orange one in the CAN high, and the purple and orange in the CAN low. So you can see it's hooked over there on the ends. 2 wires here are hooked on, and then it's hooked on over at the back. So we're ready to put our little box back on now. So you can see we've attached the Phillips screws back in. That is where you'll be able to see the little LED shining when we put power to this. It'll be green if it's good, and red if it's not good. So we have our CANbus kit here, which is this box and the wiring. So here we have our permanent live that is required for the kit, as well as earth. And then on here we have this is for the headlights for the full beam, and for if it had position lights, that's what that green would be for. The only bits that we're going to have to get rid of here is this plug here, which has got a blue and a white on. They would go to the CANbus kit if we were cutting into it, but we're not doing that. So we're just going to unclip that, and then I'm going to clip in our contactless reader that we've already installed. Clip that in there, and now I'm going to install this to a permanent live. So running down in this loom here is a thick red wire, which is a permanent live. So we're going to tap into that, but we're going to tap into it up here in the corner. Normally there'd be a shroud on there, but I have already cut the shroud off, and then I'm going to earth this, but we're going to leave the earth off for now because we're going to install the rest of our wiring, and we're going to use the same earth. So I'll strip this back like so, and now I'm going to try and find our red wiring in this loom. So our red wire is just here, so I'm going to strip that back. Just going to solder that on now. So as we're soldering, I'm just going to keep the gas tip, the exhaust tip, away from any plastic or any other bits as well, to make sure it doesn't melt them. So I'm just going to put a bit of electrical tape around our loom, as it's a permanent live. So I'm just going to run this earth here to our top earth, which has the purple and black wires. That's where I'm going to earth our CANbus kit to. So now we're ready to plug our CANbus box in. So if I plug that in here, let it click, and then you can see there I've got a red flashing light and one here. So all we're going to do now is put the ignition on, and if everything's good, we're going to get a green light here and a green light here. If they continue to flash red, then they're not receiving CANbus information, and we would have to check our wiring here. So I'll flick the ignition on, and now if we look at our boxes, we can see that they've both turned green. So we have our laser loom here. So our little wire here is our earth. This long one here is our positive, which needs to pass through the firewall. But to do that, we need to cut this fuse holder off. So we're going to cut that off about 3 inches down the loom. So if we get our knife, we're just going to cut that heat shrink. So just pull that down, cut about 3 inches down. So that bit there. And then here is where, if we have the switch, but we're not using the switch, we're going straight off a full beam. So about 10 inches down there, we're just going to cut that off. We're not going to use that, we're going to get rid of that. And then here we have the bits for both our lights. Now I'm going to de-pin these, so I'm going to use this pick tool here, and I'm just going to lift these red parts off, and same on the other one, because we need these to be de-pinned to pass them through our holes that we drill in the roof. So to de-pin these, if we look at the plug like so, you can see we've got a little gap at the top. So I'm going to put the pick in there, and then I'm going to lift this tab up which holds these in place. So put that in, lift the tab and pull the wire. So we need to keep these somewhere safe that we don't lose them. And then I can put our cable feed and attach it to this, so we can pass that through our firewall. And this will allow me to pass this through the grommet that we're going to go through. So we've done that, we're ready to move over to the car now to put the rest of this loom on and attach this part to our CANbus kit, which is for our full beam, which is the purple wire. We're going to attach that to the CANbus kit, earth it, and then feed this wire through our firewall to our battery. So our signal wire from our relay is going to go to our purple on the CANbus kit, and I'm just going to slide some heat shrink over that, and then I will join the 2 wires and solder them, and then put a heat shrink over them to keep them nice and protected. Just going to solder that on now. So we're soldered, so I'm just going to put the heat shrink over now. Make sure that the join is in the middle of the heat shrink. I'm going to use a blowtorch. Again, you could use a heat gun if that's what you have available. And now I'm going to earth the relay and then start to tidy some of this wiring up. And then I'm going to attach them to, and then use that lower earth. So I'll remove the bolt, pop your earth on the back, and your relay up front. So I'll get a couple of tie wraps and just tie wrap some of this up out the way, just to starting to neaten things up. On the back of the CANbus box there is a place to put a zip tie through, so I'm just going to put it through the one hole. So we're just going to lift the bonnet now. Back here behind the fuse box is where the bung is. So this is a bung here behind the fuse box panel, and where this bit here protrudes here is the nipple that we need to cut. So when we feed our wire through the car, it's going to pass through and then come through there. So I'm just going to get a knife and we're going to cut that nipple now. So now we're going to go back into the car and we're going to feed the positive for the battery through the firewall and then back out here, where we're going to solder this wire on here, this fuse holder back on, and I'll get some heat shrink for that as well. We have our wire attached here. I'm just going to spray some glass cleaner on this. There's a bit of lube, so as we are passing it through rubber, so it's definitely worth lubing up. So I'm just going to feed our wire now through our bung. Put my heat shrink over and then wire strip both of these ends and solder them together and attach them to the battery. These are again quite thick wires, so do need to keep your soldering iron to them for quite a while for the heat to pass through. So I'm just going to warm our heat shrink up, and now I'm going to slide our conduit over. I'm going to put this wire behind the fuse box, but to get it behind the fuse box, just push the fuse box down with your palm, and this wire will slip down it and then slip it right down to the bottom, so it's hidden. So I'll just pass this wire through and then I'm just going to put it on one of the studs here, which I had a 10mm already on. There's a spare one, so I'm just going to tighten that one up and then put the tyre wrap on this bit here just to keep everything neat. Alright, so we're done under the bonnet now. We're going to move back into the car. I'm going to leave the bonnet up because when we put our lower trim panel back in, we have to lift the bonnet catch up, and it'll just mean lifting the bonnet again. So we're going to remove our A-pillar here, and to do that we need to take off this grab handle. So I'm just going to use a pick just to lift that top edge, and that'll come forward. Same on the bottom one in the corner, pick that, and then this is 7mm. Now if you look on the back, should have a paper washer on there which basically holds that bolt in. If you do start to come out, just push that paper washer back on and then just set that down for now on the side. And then to remove our A-pillar, I'm just going to pull this with a strip a little. And I'm going to get my hand through there, get it at the top and pull down. and then pull it forward and backwards in a rocking motion, and that's just going to lift it out. Now we're not trying to remove it entirely, we just want to lay it down because the tweeter's in there. So if we try and remove that altogether, we're just going to break the tweeter. So just lay that down. So I've got a hook on my cable feeder here, and I'm just going to feed that down the side of the dash. So now that I've removed the A-pillar, I can see I have plenty of a gap to run this down, and I'm just going to hook the other side of this loom on that and then pull that up. But because these are tie wrapped together, I only need to grab one, and then if I pull this up, the rest is going to follow. I'm just going to grab that there. Pull that up. So next we're going to remove the top panel here to feed this wire in through this corner, along the front of the roof lining, and then out through there. So to remove this interior trim panel here, we're going to use a plastic trim tool, and I'm just going to hook this side first and then that side and follow it down. Now we need to disconnect our wiring that's in there. So in here we have 3 plugs. One is for the Bluetooth microphone for our phone. Then we have our SOS button in the middle, and then our interior light on the end. On the back of the SOS button is the clip that we need to unplug. So now I'm going to disconnect our Bluetooth module here. I'm just going to fold that. If you fold that plastic tab out at the side, this will lift up and out. It is normally glued to this plastic housing here, so just unplug that. And then lastly is our interior lighting, and then we're just going to put this safely on the dash, and then it's out of the way. So to pass the wiring through there, I'm going to go above onto the roof lining here, and then if I look from over here, I can see light passing through there. So that's where I'm going to feed my wire in. One through, and then same again with the other one. So we're just going to pass this wiring over our centre bit here. It does have a cutout at the side to feed some wires through. We get that through. Number 1 and number 2. So to gauge our length for our roof, I'm going to put this over the mirror, and then I'm going to pull it, and I'll just do it on this side. And then you can see basically the ends here where the heat shrink is to the length of that piece of plastic there, and that is enough for us to go on our roof and go left and right. So I'll put the rest up there. So I'll put our first tie wrap at the top. And then the excess that I have left is to fold down here. Fold that excess up as well. Fold that down there. So put a tie wrap at the bottom. I folded that over. I'm just going to put another one snap bit, I've shot them and I'm ready to put that pillar cover back on. So there's 2 location tabs at the bottom. Go in, that'll slide in and then clips in at the top. And then need to put our grab handle back on. Now on the grab handle you'll see there is a square oval on one, and then on the other there is a location tab. So if we look back on the A-pillar, you can see that one has a location tab, so we can't put this in the wrong way. Let's get one started before we do the second one. Our covers back on and our weather strip back in. Now we'll make sure that we're happy with our wiring down there, and then we'll put our cover back on down the bottom. So we're ready to fit our trim panel back on, which we'll just pull our weather strip up first. And then we need to slide this on along the carpet and then lift our bonnet catch up, and then this plastic trim here is to slide over the top. And then slip back in. So I'm just going to put our trim clip back in the corner here, which you can see there's a round hole. Just push into that and tap that in. So now we're going to mark up for our holes for drilling the roof, which is going to be 85mm up, and then from this, from the edge here, with one that doesn't have roof rails fitted to it, it's going to be 570mm in. So I'm just going to put a little bit of tape out. 85mm should be in the middle of this tape. When you look at this foot here, this front part here, there's a little ridge. I'm going to put the edge of my tape there, and then over there, and then 570mm there. Run that 85 across. So 570mm that way, and 85 there, and then we're going to do the same on the other side. So we now have our 2 points that we're going to drill. I'm going to drill a pilot hole first, and then which is 3.5, and then I'm going to drill it 8.5mm. So before I do any of that, I'm going to use this wrapping here that the light pod came in, and I'm going to put that across the seats. So slide that in there, and then partially up the way of the tablet. So When we drill this and the swarf comes through, it will land on this and not on our seats or in our carpet, and then we can just pick that up and take the swarf and pop that in the bin. So we're drilling through here. Don't worry about drilling into anything because we've already removed the panel which is down there, so there's nothing for us to drill into. 3.5 mil is my pilot hole, and then 8.5 mil is going to be my final drill bit. So I'm just going to use a deburrer here just to tidy up the holes, both on the outside and the in, so when we put our rubber grommets through, the metal doesn't chafe on that and cut through it. So both our holes are deburred on the inside and the outside. I'm just going to use a vacuum cleaner now to clean all the swarf off, as well as get rid of the swarf that's on the protection that we put down in there. So I'm just going to remove our interior protection now and get rid of the swarf off that, and then we'll put that back in the car, because when we seal up the hole, if any sealant drops down, it just drops onto this protection again and not onto our center console. So I'm just going to paint this now. As it's bare metal, we're going to paint the inside and the out, just in case any water does get towards that bit that we've drilled, it won't go rusty. It doesn't matter what colour that you use. I'm going to use this 2-pack one here, which will dry in about 10-15 minutes. So I'll go to the inside of the car now and paint the inside. Our paint is now dried, so I'm going to put in our 2 little rubber grommets that came in our kit. And they're both in. I'm going to feed our wiring up from the bottom. So now I'm going to get our Sikaflex, and I'm going to put the nozzle down these holes and seal the outside as well as the inside. We're going to build like a mound to basically make that as watertight as we can possibly get it. Before I do that, I'll get our plugs back on here. So I'll just grab them now. On here we have, on this plug we have a number 1 and a number 2. Red always goes in number 2. So if you line these up, it'll only go in one way, but it'll go through. And once it goes through, it'll make a click, 2 clicks. Once that's both clicked, just give it a tug and they're both nice and tight, and then I can slip my red cover back over. Now I'll get our Sikaflex and seal that. So I'm going to put the tip of the nozzle down the hole, both the holes, to get the Sikaflex in there as much as possible. I'm just going to push them back a bit, a little bit. So from the inside of the car now, I'm going to put the nozzle up. So I'm just going to wet my hand and wet the inside bit in this wiring so I can work the sealant around the wires. so spray the water, the glass cleaner all over, and I'm just gonna. It doesn't, like I say, it doesn't need to be pretty, but it does need to stop water from getting in. So I'm just going to use the glass cleaner to help me mould it, so it doesn't stick to my gloves. So we're ready to fit our interior panel back on. So we're going to connect the Bluetooth module first, and then our SOS button, and finally our interior light at the back. And then if you look here, there's two tabs at the back. They need to start engaging, and once they start engaging, we're going to get the Bluetooth module, and then that is going to sit back in its cradle. So I'll clip it in one side and then in the other, make sure that's engaged, and then put my trim back up. Yep, and we're good to go from there. So now we'll go on to the point of fitting the light pod. We're going to mark the position for the pod now, which is 50mm up from the edge of the roof, 50mm up this way, and then 25mm in from this edge bit of rubber. So I'm just going to use this 1-inch tape to mark that. So this doesn't have roof rails, so just going to go to the edge of the rubber, which will give us our 25mm, and then get a tape measure and then just put that to the edge of the roof, and then mark 50mm up from there. So that there. And then we're going to do the same on the opposite side, and then when we put the pod on, the pod is going to sit in this little L that we've created here, and then we'll do the same on the other side, and then we're ready to lay the pod on. So I'll move around there and mark that. Now we have the position for where we want the pod. We'll use the wrapping that came in the pod to put some protection down on top of the roof, and then when we lay the pod up on the roof, it's not going to mark any of that. Pop some protection down, and then our pod we're going to lay upside down on the roof and plug the connectors in there, and then make sure it's working before we finally bond it down properly. So we're going to go over to the pod now and lay the sealant on, and then bring it back up here. We've got our pod here upside down. We're going to put the Sikaflex on, but we want to leave a gap at the front. So if we follow this V, we're going to leave a gap here, so any water that does get in does have a route to get out. We've just used the remainder of our Sikaflex that we had left to get the best bond possible. So just make sure that any that you do have left does go on the pod, and that'll give us the best bond. So we're going to move over to the car now. You're going to need a friend or a neighbour to give you a lift on with this, and we'll get that cracked on. I'm just going to plug our connectors in. We've got it upside down, so I'll plug our connectors in, and then I'm going to get a friend here to check that everything is working okay. So I'm plugged in there, I'm happy with them. You just want to try them for me. And that we have all 4 lights working. which you do. So we're ready to stick the pod on. We're going to flip that over now, and then as we do, our mark here, our edges, are going to line up with our edges here. So as we flip that over, I'm just going to pull that wiring in. Make sure none of the wiring is sitting out of the pod. And then I'm just going to push that down, and I'll tape that on into position, and then we want to leave that for 24 hours while that dries. We're going to use our 2-inch tape now to tape that down. Like I say, this needs to be left for, well, we would recommend between 12 and 24 hours for this to fully cure. And if there is any Sikaflex that has come out, just make sure you wipe it off. Use brake cleaner and a microfiber just to wipe any excess that has come out. And that completes the installation of our Predator light pod on a 2023 Amarok.